If default and termination are inevitable in your contract, if the relationship or the quality control or timing issues are irretrievably broken, now that you have insight into that, how close are you to default or breach? Look at your agreements and find out what are the requirements to put someone in default or note the breach. What are the requirements under state law? What are the requirements under your agreements? Where do your rights begin and end for protecting your business? Consider whether or not you can stop the bleeding or the poor relationship from contaminating your business with something that's called an anticipatory breach. Is there a way that you can acknowledge what is coming, go to state court, and terminate the relationship to move on in your relationship? Figure out whether the default is one that's performance or merely something that is monetary. Because if a bankruptcy comes along, a pure monetary default may trigger a different set of considerations. But if their failure or their default is something that is performance and something that cannot be cured with just a payment of money, that is going to help if there's an eventual bankruptcy. But you're going to want to make sure that you document the performance issues in a way that cannot be questioned down the road. Finally, if default and termination are inevitable, understand clearly what your rights will be post-termination. What obligations will you have post-termination? That will help you weigh the cost and benefit analysis of whether termination and default are really still a decision or whether or not they are an absolute inevitability. Another thing to think about is that if your business cannot survive without this customer or supplier, so if default and termination are just simply not an option because they are too important for the business, how can you help them get back into fighting shape? Keeping those lines of communication open and having an understanding of where they really need support and help will help you provide not just a Band-Aid, but the true help that they need to get back on their feet. Try to get an understanding of what sort of payment, forbearance support they need, or if you can help them find a new lender, or if you as a supportive related business may be able to provide them some financing. Consider also what new terms you could include in a revised contract or a revised set of terms and conditions, whether it's that they're providing you with some sort of collateral, if they are tightening up their delivery terms, if they can get on some sort of corrective path to improve their quality control, where the quality control standards don't change overnight, that you can build back up to what is needed. They may need support in finding employees and other folks on their assembly line that are up to the standards and can provide for what you need. You may be able to lend them some qualified employees to better support their operations. If you're going to provide this kind of support, consider carefully what insights and oversight you will require for this cooperation. If you're lending financial or employee support, or really any sort of support whatsoever, you may not get a seat on the board, but you may want to get regular financial reports. You may want to make sure that those are audited and that they can be relied on. So these are just some things to think about when you know that a default or termination is highly possible and need to figure out which path to take.